This could be the most valuable tip that you can learn before installing your pet door through the wall of your home. Stay tuned. Hey folks, it's Adam with Outdoor Pet Solutions. One of the most common questions that I get before someone installs a pet door through the wall of their home is, how do I transfer the inside dimensions of the hole that you cut on the inside of your home, typically in the drywall, to the outside so that the pet door lines up perfectly through the wall? When you purchase a pet door, it will come with a set of instructions, and typically it will instruct you to trace out the rough opening dimensions on the inside wall. And then it will advise you to drill out the four corners of those dimensions. So you'll trace it out on the wall, you'll drill out the four corners. And as you drill those four corners, they're advising you to drill all the way through to the exterior of your home. And at first glance, this may seem like the easiest way to transfer those exact dimensions to the exterior. That way, when you cut out the exterior finish of your home, whether that's brick or vinyl, it will line up with the interior cutout. However, there's a major flaw in approaching it in this way, and I'm going to address that in this video. And furthermore, I'm going to show you how it is that I do it professionally to prevent those issues from occurring so that you end up with the cleanest, most professional looking installation. So the major issue with drilling out the four corners to transfer those measurements to the exterior is that you're going to experience blowout. Blowout occurs when you're drilling from the inside to the outside and your drill bit penetrates through to the outside. It's going to damage the exterior surface. It's going to blow out and remove a decent amount of that surface of the brick that the frame of the pet door is not going to be able to cover over. So when you cut out your rough opening, you're going to be left with these really bad looking edges around the edge of your pet door. This can also occur in other types of exterior surfaces, whether it's hardy board, it can peel and crack, it'll blow out as well. The vinyl siding, especially if you're working in a colder climate, colder part of the year, that vinyl siding will become brittle, and if you drill from the inside to the outside, when it exits, it's going to crack that siding, leaving you again with a damaged exterior that's going to be very difficult to repair or patch and to make it look clean. So to prevent all that, I'm going to show you through a few video clips that I recently taped while I was installing a few pet doors this week. I'm going to walk you through exactly how I transfer the interior measurements to the outside and prevent any of that blowout issue. So let's take a look. So the first thing you want to do is use a good stud finder to locate the studs inside your wall. Studs that are on 16-inch centers leaves you about 14.5 inches in between those studs. The widest pet door that you can put through there is the 11-inch wide pet door listed on our website. Anything of that width or narrower will fit between those studs because you'll have 14.5 inches to work with. The pet door we are installing today is 11 inches wide and requires a 13-inch rough opening. Next, you're going to want to measure the actual steel tunnel itself. Don't measure the exterior frame or interior frame. It's the tunnel that needs to feed through the wall. So you're measuring the width and the height. This is an 11 by 16-inch model. So this is going to require a rough opening of roughly 13 inches wide by 18 inches tall. I like to take whatever the actual measurement of the tunnel is that was manufactured, and I'll add a 1/4 inch to that width measurement, and I'll add a 1/4 inch to the height measurement. So if it comes out at 12 3/4, go to 13 with it. That gives you an 1/8 of an inch play in either direction as you're installing the pet door through the wall. I'll jot those measurements down on the drywall or on the box so I don't forget those measurements. And then I will center that measurement, the width measurement, between those two studs as I'm doing here. When choosing the location that you want to install the pet door through, you're going to want to choose a section of wall that doesn't have the potential of maybe electrical lines running in the wall. So how do you determine that? Well, you can look at the placement of the outlets along that wall, make sure there's no nearby light switches, things like that. If there are, the chances are you might have electrical lines running through the wall. It's not the end of the world if you do. If that's the only location you have to work with, you can junction those lines. But what you can do if you're unsure is cut a small hole like I'm doing there now, right in the center of where you plan on putting the pet door. And then you can reach in there, feel around, up, down, left, right, and kind of get an idea if there's an electrical line running through there. That way you can easily repair that small section of drywall that you cut out just large enough to stick your hand in, rather than having to repair a much larger hole that would be the hole you're cutting for the pet door. The next thing you're going to want to do is take the height measurement of the pet door and transfer that to the wall there. To determine the height of the pet door, you need to measure your dog. So from a standing position, measure your dog from the floor to their back, to their withers. Don't include their head. And then you're going to want to mount the pet door passage opening about an inch above their back. That way they're not having to duck down or crawl through the pet door, and they can pass through it comfortably. In this particular instance, the dog measures about 20 inches to their back, so I'm going to mount the pet door where the passage opening height is at 21 inches, and then that pet door will drop down to about the 5-inch mark, allowing them to be able to easily step through the pet door. This will require us to cut down into the base molding and recess the pet door against the wall in the baseboard. Once you have your width and height measurements marked on the wall, you'll go ahead and take a level and trace out the actual overall cutout or rough opening for your new pet door. Next, you'll just use a standard drywall saw, hand saw, and cut along those lines that you marked for your rough opening for your pet door. Once you remove the drywall, the next thing you'll want to do is cut out the insulation. Now I try to leave as much insulation as possible above, below, and to the left and right of the pet door as you can. So take a good sharp knife and cut along that insulation, and try to leave enough around the edges to help with insulated value around the edges of the pet door. So now we've reached the point of the video where I want to show you how I transfer the measurements that you have laid out on the inside to the exterior wall. I use a speed square that I have pre-marked a 4-inch line across the back of that speed square. So as I'm showing you there, I have a black line marked 4 inches from the inside corner of that speed square over. And the idea is to push the edge of the speed square up against the edge of the drywall. That way you can transfer that 4-inch mark from the edge of the drywall over to the left on that OSB there. And you'll do the same thing from the top of your cutout down 4 inches as well and make that mark. Now you should have a vertical line marked 4 inches from the right side of that cutout and a horizontal line marked from the top of that cutout down. Next, you'll grab a drill with the appropriate drill bit for drilling through whatever material you're working with. In this case, I'm using a standard wood bit that's 3/8 of an inch in diameter. You'll want to position that drill bit so that it's just inside the vertical and horizontal lines. So you'll see that the piloted hole is just below the horizontal line and just to the left of the vertical line. After you've piloted your hole through that first layer, now you need to drill out to the exterior. The exterior of this home is hardy board. That is a concrete lap siding material, so you'll want to use the appropriate drill bit as you make your way through these layers till you get to the exterior of your home. And in this case, I need a concrete bit with a hammer drill. This is a very long bit because I go through different depths of walls, including brick and block. But what I like to do is use a level to try to position the handing of my drill so that it's level. I don't want the bit to be unlevel or cocked in one direction or the other, so that my hole is perfectly straight through to the exterior. So here is why I prefer to drill one hole in the center of your overall rough opening for your pet door. As you can see here, there is blowout. That's where the exterior finish of your home will be damaged once your drill bit exits to the outside. So you can imagine if you were to drill out all four corners like that, you're going to have some gnarly looking blown out holes on the exterior, and the chances of the pet door frame overlapping enough to cover up those damaged areas are slim to none. So it's going to be best to just drill through the middle like I've done and transfer the measurements accordingly. So now you're going to measure from the left edge of that hole over to the left 4 inches, and you're going to mark the wall. You're going to do the same from the top of that hole. You're going to measure from the top of that hole up 4 inches and mark that location. This will represent the drywall edge opening that you cut out originally on the inside of your home. Next, you're going to measure from that mark on the wall that you just made 4 inches to the left of the hole. You need to measure from that mark over to the right the width of the rough opening for your pet door. And in this case, it's 13 inches wide. You'll then measure from the top mark that's 4 inches above your hole. You'll measure from that point down the same distance of the rough opening for the height. And in this case, it's roughly about 18 inches. At this point, you should have all 4 edges of that rough opening marked on the exterior of your wall. Again, you're measuring over 4 inches from the left side of that hole to the left, and then 4 inches from the top of the hole up. Then you measure from those marks accordingly to represent the overall rough opening for your pet door. Now you'll take your level and you'll trace out the overall rough opening dimensions that you have marked out on the wall. So now you can see we'll be able to cut out that rough opening on the exterior and get rid of any of that blowout evidence from that gnarly hole that was drilled through to the outside. So here's another example of where I drilled from the interior to the exterior on a brick veneer home. You can see that the blowout is pretty devastating, and so if you were to drill out the 4 corners, there's no way you would be able to cover that up and make it look nice and clean. So some of you might be asking the question, well, why not drill from the outside to the inside? Because penetrating through the drywall will be a lot more forgiving than drilling from the inside to the outside, and I totally get that. If you can pull that off, by all means, do it that way, and you can do the 4-corner method. However, when placing your pet door where you want it, the interior location is a lot more important than the exterior. So you're going to want to line it up perfectly between studs and maybe some other obstacles on the interior side, and then where it lands on the exterior side is less important. So always drilling from the inside to the outside and transferring the measurements that way will lead to a better installation for you. So now you can see that we've made some nice clean cuts on the brick, and we'll be able to remove that devastating pilot hole that we created in the middle. So by drilling through the center rather than the 4 corners allows us to remove the brick or whatever exterior surface you're working with nice and clean, and we'll be able to install the pet door, and the frame will overlap the edges nicely. Here are some photos of the finished product after I got done. As you can see, it makes for a nice clean installation. You don't have to worry about the four corners blowing out. Just drill right through the middle and transfer those measurements accordingly, and you'll be in good shape. I hope this video was helpful in showing you how to transfer those measurements from the inside wall to the exterior wall so that your pet door lines up perfectly and you avoid blowing out the exterior and damaging that surface so that you end up with the most professional and clean looking installation you possibly can. If you're in the market for a pet door and you want the absolute best, be sure to check out the link down in the description. It will take you to the premium pet door that I prefer to install for all my customers here in the Nashville area. It's highly energy efficient, it's built with the best components, and it's backed by the best warranty in the industry. It will ship to you with shipping included in that price, and they ship out very quickly. As a preferred dealer, my pet doors ship out lightning fast, usually within 24 to 48 hours, and they'll come to you UPS ground, so you'll have it in just a few days. And as always, thanks for watching. Goodbye.